Alright, so today we're going to be looking at modal verbs with this little guy that I thought looked like Walter White from Breaking Bad, so your sentences will be examples inspired from that show. So to start, what exactly is a modal verb? Well, it's what we call an auxiliary verb, meaning that it must be used in combination with another verb in order to change the meaning of the sentence. In the case of modal verbs, they are used to show the speaker's attitude towards what he or she is saying. We use modals to express many different kinds of attitudes. It can express a possibility, a capability, to ask permission, to state an intention, to give suggestions or advice, to say that something is obligatory, or to be polite. The main modals in English are may, might, can, could, will, should, must, have to. And they can be used in different ways to express different attitudes, as you can see on the screen. So modals are a little bit confusing in that the sentences are a little bit more difficult to construct, but we're going to try to break it down into 3 simple rules. Rule number 1, modals never change form. You do not conjugate modal verbs. They always stay the way they are. So for example, can is always can. It doesn't change to cans, it doesn't change to canned, it doesn't change to canning, for example. Would is always would. Wouldn't change into woods or wooded or something else like that. Modal verbs always go before the verb in your original sentence that you want to change the meaning of. That is rule number 2. So, in the sentence, Mr. White cooks meth, which is a statement with no attitude attached to it, we will change the meaning of that sentence by adding a modal. In this case, we want to state his intention to cook meth. So now the sentence will become, Mr. White will cook meth. This brings us to our 3rd rule. The base verb of the sentence that we were changing becomes the base form of that verb. So that means we do not conjugate it once we add a modal. So if you look at the first sentence, Mr. White cooks meth, you can see that cooks has been conjugated to agree with Mr. White, the subject. But once we add a modal, we no longer conjugate the verb. So it is, Mr. White will cook meth. Let's look at a few other examples. Jesse Pinkman helps Mr. White. Again, this is a statement without any attitude or feelings attached to it. But if we want to express this as a possibility, we would add the modal may or might, changing the sentence to Jesse Pinkman may help Mr. White, or Jesse Pinkman might help Mr. White. Again, notice that the original verb becomes the base form. So instead of being Jesse Pinkman may helps Mr. White, it is Jesse Pinkman may help. It is no longer conjugated, it is the base form. So, if we wanted to make any of these sentences negative, there's a really easy thing we need to do, and that is add not. Where do we put the word not? In between the 2 verbs of the sentence, the modal and the base verb. So if we wanted to change the sentence, you watch Breaking Bad, into a sentence that is a suggestion, we would change it to you should watch Breaking Bad. Or if you wanted that to be a negative suggestion, you would turn it into you should not watch Breaking Bad.
Created using Powtoon.